All right, let's get going. Thank you for being on time. This is a community event. It's a virtual summit, and we'd love you to turn your camera on. I do have your faces down here. You don't have to, but if you do turn it on, I'll see all you, and it helps with all of our presenters and panel members kind of get into the fun of being community here. So thanks for turning your camera on if you can. At this time, pop open the chat window if you're in a safe place, and that's kind of where all the action happens around questions. Um, Someone will poke me if there's a question we can answer later on in the Q&A section, and say hello there, and say hello from wherever you are calling in from. Great. So if you do share later on in the Q&A section, just be brief and kind of be thoughtful about what you're asking. This is an open forum. Share public information only. Keep your secrets secret, please. Be kind, inclusive, and respectful. Treat others and their ideas with respect. And please share your knowledge and thoughts, not sales pitches. There's other times for that. Appreciate you for doing that. All right. Well, here you are at the July Asia Pacific July virtual summit, which is FinOps X Recap. So I'm Dean Bashi, the community director for Asia Pacific, and welcome. And I'm super glad to see all your faces down here. Several pages worth, amazing. This call keeps getting bigger and bigger every time we hold it, and I'm glad to see you here. So the FinOps Foundation is indeed a Linux Foundation program, which operates as a nonprofit. We're a member-based trade association, and our whole job here is to advance the people who manage the value of cloud, and that's pretty much probably you. And so we do this in three key ways. We create connections and community. That's what we're doing here. We have Slack, all sorts of other forums like FinOps X and X Days, education and certification. A lot of you out there are FinOps certified, yay. Those of you who are certified, and we help you understand what it means to be a FinOps practitioner. And best practices and standards, the community itself creates these and makes them available from a public point of view, open source on finops.org. Yeah, so in the next 60 minutes, we're going to cover FinOps X Recap super fast. So if you weren't able to attend, we'll shove all of that content to you on Zoom here in less than 60 minutes. We're going to cover Focus 1.2 announcement. That's awesome. And new certification available for AI. We're going to have a panel discussion with some of our favorite faces, introduce them in a second. So hold on to your chairs, seats, whatever you're on. It'll be a lot of content quickly here. I just want to say thanks to our ambassadors, many of which are on the call here. Andy, Graham, Jinsu, and Sara, thank you for being ambassadors for Asia Pacific region. If you don't know these people, you can reach out to them on Slack. They'll probably be friendly and say hello back. They are the folks that kind of help us build and scale the Asia Pacific region and are kind of your first line of help and defense and Q&A, and they've been around a while, and they know who to reach out to, kind of if you have a question, if they can't answer it. I just want to point out Graham, who will be speaking a little bit later, is also a Focus ambassador, and that makes him extra special, and we'll put his skills to test today. And then we have all of our ambassadors, which comprises the Ambassador Council. And so these folks provide real-world practice guidance that feeds, ongoing changes to the framework. So the framework is built by the community, and these are the kind of first and foremost faces that help us do that. So there's 101 folks here. If you want to be the 102nd, be sure to contact your community director. It's probably either myself or someone named Ishita, who I have not yet introduced, but I am now. I'd like to introduce Ishita Vyas, who is the new India community lead. who is taking over for myself, who did an okay job, and Ishita's already doing an amazing job. Ishita comes to us from HCL, Gartner, IDC, Deloitte, PwC, and Accenture, and has been in the FinOps world for quite some time now. Ishita's in the Delhi area in India, but we'll be doing face-to-face events all over India, and already has almost to capacity two meetups, one in Noida and one in Bangalore coming up. And of course, our first X Day in India sometime in the spring. So I'd like to say welcome to Ishita.
Hey, Dean. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here today. I'm truly excited to take up this role leading FinOps Foundation's efforts in India. There's so much potential here, we already know, and incredible depth of knowledge across practitioners. And my goal is to bring this energy together on a shared platform to support community, spotlight what's already working, and help grow a thriving FinOps community across the region. So please reach out to me if you have anything and I can help you at FinOps Foundation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Um, India's community is growing like crazy before, and now it's even crazier now. So I'm so happy for you to be here. And we'll put you to work on this call, in fact. Upcoming community calls, folks. If you're able to attend, you should join these things. So this is where the work is getting done now. Well, I guess it's in the working groups, but this is where a lot of the work gets done before the working groups. In fact, where ideas for new working groups come from. So we have different kind of time zone compatible calls here. By the way, you're welcome to join any call globally if you'd like to, wake up in the middle of the night and join the US one. Um, this is where we kind of get your input, what's going on out there, get the pulse of the community, and take that back and kind of incorporate new ideas and kind of thrusts at the FinOps Foundation. So you just need to go to finops.org/events and join, and love to see your faces there. Speaking of X days, we had our first X day in Tokyo, what, 2 months ago, month and a half ago, something like this. Over 100 folks attended our first Japan X Day. And if you don't know, X Days are basically a 1 day content-packed event that we put on is kind of managed and staffed by the FinOps Foundation with speakers, venue, and you can go to the X website and see the X Days URL and see what other X Days are coming up. The cool thing here for X Days, we actually record the presentations. In this case, I believe we've transcribed them as well. Some are in Japanese, some are in English. So you can actually go see the content for X Day Tokyo now, which is awesome. Okay, let's get on to FinOps X Recap. And if you were there in person, you'll know that day 2 keynote speaker happens to be a guy who lives in the Asia Pacific region. So it is my pleasure to introduce Mike, our CTO of the FinOps Foundation, who will cover everything we covered at FinOps X on AI.
Thanks, Dean, and welcome everyone. It's good to see you. It's actually quite a strong number of participants on the call today, which is awesome to see compared to last time I think we did a summit. It's great to see the growth in the community. As Dean says, I did the day 2 keynote and covered, I guess, where we're up to with FinOps for AI and where we sort of see this evolution continue to grow for a lot of organizations. I've had a lot of positive conversations around the way practitioners are approaching their AI spends in their organizations. And so we kind of put together a bit of a package at FinOps X to sort of help the sort of first steps for your journey into managing AI spend as FinOps practitioners. The talk on day 2, while we had some cloud announcements around tools for FinOps, like AI tools for FinOps. Most of the content day 2 was really around how FinOps can help AI. And Dean, if you want to move into the next slide. And so the sort of when we look at AI spend, it feels like it's all new. There's definitely a whole new layer of terminology like LLMs and RAG and agentic. There's new engineering practices, the whole fuzzy math of how token pricing works. There's a lot of product volatility and market volatility with pricing models changing, new offerings coming and going in the market as sort of everyone's trying to come up with the next greatest thing in AI, and teams are trying to look at utilizing those next greatest things in the way they work or in their products. Um, and then, there's teams, more people across your organization getting involved in utilizing this technology. You've got, very little experience in predicting these AI spend, and the speed that AI is taken up within organizations is pale, makes cloud, growth look pale in comparison. And we all know that cloud growth was quite rapid. So, it all feels like it's a very high challenge. But, when we look at the details, and if you're going to move to the next slide, Dean, um, you've dealt with a whole new pile of new terminology before as you moved into cloud and you introduced things like containers and different SaaS offerings. The whole consumption-based billing that you're really good at that as FinOps practitioners. And dealing with complex and detailed billing data is actually kind of your bread and butter and the thing that we often enjoy. And coming up with good, strong allocation practices is often sort of the core of how FinOps can get ahead. You've met with and built strong friendships across the organization with different persona groups. You've learnt to tackle predicting cloud spend, and there's when we look at faster decision making, that was the whole reason why FinOps sort of was brought to be inside your organization. And so we believe that when you look at AI from this perspective, it is all the same, just applied to a new technology area. Moving to the next slide. Fundamentally, it's really important for you to realize that it's the same FinOps principles that you're going to apply to AI as the ones you use for cloud today. They basically provide the foundation of your approach to managing any technology spend, and specifically, and in this case, how to apply it to your FinOps for AI spend. This year, they were updated slightly, just really to reflect that expansion of scopes that the spend management FinOps is applying in many practices, including those into the areas of AI. And so the core of day 2 keynote around AI, if you move to the next slide, was, this is all just FinOps. When we look at FinOps for cloud or FinOps for AI or FinOps for SaaS, underlying is the practice of FinOps. That's the same. It's the same, model of approach of building collaboration models around, collaborative practices around real-time data and making informed decisions across your organization. And I mentioned scopes a couple of times there. If you move to the next slide, another addition to the FinOps framework this year, in this year's release, was the scopes itself. And the idea of scopes is really to sort of outline that practice. And for AI, it's really a way for you to pick and choose which capabilities you're going to apply to that technology area. And you maintain the capabilities you have and the targets you've set for driving your cloud spend. But you're going to see organizations as they build out their scope for AI, selecting particular capabilities and setting unique targets for this particular area of scope of spend, so they can sort of track both their more mature practice on FinOps for cloud and the sort of evolving practice that they have of being applied to the AI spend within their organizations. In order to help you get there on this journey, we also announced that FinOps X, if you move to the next slide, we are building out a series for FinOps Certified, FinOps for AI. The idea here was to evolve the content of the certification that you'll get at the end of this journey as the industry is moving and as the industry is building out these best practices, because we want to get the information into your hands as early as possible, but also have the room to sort of tailor the content to meet exactly sort of where things are at as they continue to evolve at a fast pace over the next 12 months. We have set out some key deliverable dates with the intro to FinOps for AI already out, and then we're targeting the first module for FinOps AI coming out in September. There's that 20% off code. I do recommend you seriously consider looking at booking this in if this is an interesting course for you, and I believe for most practitioners it's going to be, because we basically want to bring everyone on the ride to building out their FinOps AI practice. Next slide. There's a whole pile of notes here. I won't read through all of them, but for the level 1 course that we've got coming up, we're working on things like AI cost allocation, data ingestion, anomaly detection. So it's 3 major areas. And actually, some of the presenters we had on the day 2 keynote were talking about sort of how they tackled exactly some of these first few things that you will learn in the L1 module for FinOps for AI. And then, of course, the end of that will give us another badge to add to the list of badges that you can collect for those who are trying to get all the Pokemons added to their hat.
And I do myself.
And then next slide, we just sort of a bit more detail about the scopes that I talked about. Dean's going to cover, if we move to the next slide, cover exactly sort of how we see all of the sort of scopes applying to what we call the FinOps enabled executive decision making. And I won't steal all of his thunder there, but you'll see that it basically is a way for us to tailor that selection from the domains, capabilities, the personas in the organization, and try and align those to the business strategies. And so if you move to the next slide, we kind of think about it as the business strategy is really setting the outcomes, of what the business is trying to do at large, and then that helps you sort of set the scope of what technology is being used within your organization to help drive for those outcomes. And then based on that sort of technology area that your scope is in, and then the outcomes you're trying to drive for, you're able to then tailor your selection of capabilities and the targets you're setting on each of those areas, while also being able to have 2 or 3 of these conversations going at the same time with from the business strategy perspective, because you may have, and I'll use AI as an example, you may have a intention to use a technology choice of using AI to accelerate the business. But that's not your business strategy. Like, being good at AI isn't the outcome. You'll be looking at, better customer experience, faster development cycle, some sort of business benefit that the business is using AI as a technology choice for. And so you would be looking at the AI technology area and thinking, how can we better understand the use of AI spend in this scope of AI, and how is that helping us get to those business outcomes that we're setting? So how can we better report the dollars we're spending on AI and the outcomes that it's driving? And then, as I said, Dean will cover how that sort of communication mechanism works. Next slide. And so, sorry, we go back one, sorry. I think I jumped the gun there. Yeah, so this sort of gives you a bit of an idea. You might have some targets that you're trying to look for is drive better efficiency on your cloud spend. So you're picking out a set of capabilities there. You want to innovate with AI. You have maybe some data center stuff that you're trying to move away from, and maybe starting to try to quantify how your license license usage and utilization is across the organization. And so you can imagine, effectively you as a practitioner is really tailoring what it is that is your scope. They're not like an area of spend like cloud versus data center. They can be, but they can be also areas of technology spend like AI or containerization, etc. But the intent is for the practitioner to feel like they can define that boundary line of technology spend that is their scope, and then sort of tailor exactly the practice and approach they're using from the common building blocks that we have in the FinOps framework. Next slide. So looking at other scopes, content we have to support you in other areas than FinOps for AI, we have FinOps for SaaS content, and there's a pile of papers and training coming up for FinOps for SaaS. And one of the other things that happened around the same time as FinOps X is we announced that we have formed a collaboration with the ITAM forum for those in the ITAM space, or operating SAM and HAM practices. we are working towards a way of really clarifying that these two practices can be very good friends and not foe. And so you can keep an eye out for some of the stuff that will come out from that practice. And then another area that we have got a fair bit of content coming already out if your next slide is the FinOps Data Center. Another one where it's still evolving in exactly how different practitioners are approaching applying FinOps practices to their data center. And so we have a pile of papers already out here, and then we'll be continue to work with the ambassadors and the community members out there that are sort of leading the charge on how they're applying FinOps into their data center utilization. And I think that's my section, and I can pass back over to Dean. Thanks, Dean.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you covering that. I mean, you did a good intro there. I kind of want to zoom way the heck out here and just talk about FinOps-enabled executive decisions. So we held our first executive forum just before FinOps X this year, where we basically invited executives who pretty much don't do FinOps stuff day to day, and they might be more than likely 2 levels above kind of the FinOps lead at your organization. So this might be EVP, C level, SVP level, and we had a hypothesis that like, hey, there's a lot of data being generated by FinOps teams. There's a lot more control here. There's a lot more visibility. Perhaps this information could be used to better make decisions. And so that's what's reflected here, right? So you sitting between your business strategy and your kind of technology strategy is FinOps here. And it is feeding data, as you were doing there, FEED, into more or less different personas in the leadership level to make better decisions. So if you're kind of a CXO, you want to compete in a new market, what partnership or technology do you need? And how much would that cost to make that investment? What's the return? You would assume a FinOps team probably has a good idea on what current investments are being made and what a new one might look like. We're good forecasters, we're good counters, et cetera. VP, we need to be number one, in the product for these features. What kind of investments do we need? Investments have we made in the past? That data is now a lot more at hand because of a FinOps program. And so we feed that, to kind of these decision makers to make better decisions. And so this is going to continue on, and we're going to learn a little bit more what executives might need, and that'll kind of be a feedback loop for FinOps teams themselves and vice versa. And better data equals better decisions. And as I switch over to that concept, as FinOps professionals, we know a little bit about data and how do we get that data? And the question now goes to Mr. Graham Murphy. Thank you for being here. Graham is our Focus ambassador, and I'm going to have Graham cover Focus 1.2 announcement from X.
Thanks, Dean. Nice to see everyone here. It's really good to see the number of participants on this call this time around. Very incredible amount of growth there. Focus 1.2. So Focus was announced at FinOps X again as version 1.2 being available. This is quite a big step forwards in what we've got available in Focus and how we can use that. How do I go forwards, Dean? Are you driving? Thanks. Within Focus 1.2, we added 7 new columns. These columns have been designed to give us a more comprehensive view as within the data set that we've got, allowing us to do more work with our SaaS and PaaS vendors and unlocking potential around invoice reconciliation. I think those of you that would have used version 1 or 1.1, if you're on that, would have found that you didn't have invoice ID, and it was pretty hard to try and match the data back to your invoices. So introducing invoice ID was a really good step forwards in giving us greater flexibility in the data set. If we look forwards into what these columns mean in a bit more detail, on the next slides we can see more detail around what each one are and how we can track them. We can do more with pricing currency now around virtual currencies. It allows us to look at those tokens or credits that we may get with our contracts when we say with certain providers. We can compare that against national currencies as well now. So where we've got billing currency, we have pricing currency, you can do comparisons between the two to try and understand how your credits relate to your currencies. You can also then view that in your contracted and unit prices as well. So it gives us a lot more flexibility from a pricing point of view. We also now have Focus 1.2 scope locked in. So the team and the working group are powering through on that as we speak. That'll be looking at bringing a lot more information around split cost allocation to Focus. I know there's been a lot of calls around split cost allocation and being able to manage split costs. So we're hoping 1.3 scope is going to help get to that point. Next slide, Dean. I think we're through those, aren't we? All the providers that now support Focus. We had AWS, Google, and Microsoft. I think earlier in the year you would have heard about Oracle Cloud and Tencent. Most recently, Alibaba Cloud, Databricks, and Grafana are all offering their billing data in Focus formats. So that's a really good step forwards, to see these other SaaS and PaaS providers starting to provide data in Focus as well. If you haven't started to use it, highly recommend that you jump onto your cloud providers and start exporting your data in Focus format. It also signals to them that there's support for it, and it keeps the momentum going. The other thing with FinOps X, if you hadn't been there or have been there and were at the Focus booth was a great place to get insight into everything. So if you are attending Focus X next year, definitely do drop by that booth if it's there. I'm pretty sure it will be. And you'll meet the working group and the maintainers and give your input into what you would like to see out of Focus. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Really appreciate it. And lucky you all, because Graham is in the Asia Pacific region, arm's reach away, sort of, on the other side of the earth, somewhere in Australia from you potentially, but really amazing resource to have kind of here in the region. And thank you for kind of covering that there, Graham. So I just want to point out here that, there's a heck of a lot of working group assets coming out of the working groups right now. And here's just a few examples. I believe we'll paste a few links in if we haven't already. As a community director, I get questions all the time, so like, well, how do I start with FinOps for data center? And the first thing I do is point you to this working group output. So do take the time. You can use your favorite AI engine to, summarize some of these papers if you want, and then go back to focus in on the areas that you need more detail. This is where you should start. And this is where kind of the core of the know-how lives in these papers coming out of these working groups. So folks, June 8th through 11th, I know it's already on your calendar. Just want to confirm it's on your calendar. You can check after the call here, but June 8th through 11th, 2026, that's next year, FinOps X will be back in San Diego, and I expect to see we were up to almost 500 people there, because Ishita and I want to win. The mostest people that come from other regions than the US win, and we're winners. I do know it is a lot of money, and I do know it takes a lot of time to get your visa. So now's the time to start asking for budget, to put that letter of your ask in to get the visa started. We can help there, so just reach out to myself or Ishita, and we have invitation letters and all that good stuff, which pretty much has to be done now for many of you folks in order to make it, and we'd love to see you there. So June 8th through 11th, reg is not quite open yet, but will be soon. And don't forget, well, we just blew by in 30 minutes. Hey, we made it. Basically 2-3 days worth of content at FinOps X. You can go to finops.org/insights, which is kind of like the FinOps Foundation magazine, if we had one. And there you will find a more robust version of FinOps X Day 1 and Day 2 summaries. as well as all the videos. And we're almost done posting up every single video from all of the sessions that were recorded, breakouts on the YouTube channel and in the repository for FinOps X's. So you have no excuse. You can go to FinOps X in the past by watching the content at your favorite speed on the FinOps Foundation YouTube channel. It's available for you now. All right, now it's time to bring up smart people and smarter people. Mike's smart. I'm not quite as smart. How about that? And I'd like to hand it over to Ishita to cover panel discussion here and bring some of our favorite people back.
Yeah, thank you, Dean. So I'm so glad we are joining today by three stellar leaders who represent powerful cross-section of FinOps maturity from SaaS to consumer goods to enterprise software. First, we have Graham, Director of SaaS and Product Line at TechnologyOne, a FinOps ambassador, who brings a strategic lens on managing value across SaaS lifecycle. Joining us from Atlassian, we have Sara, Principal FinOps Analyst and a FinOps Ambassador, active in governance policy, collaboration topics, and a repeat presenter at FinOps X. And from PepsiCo, we have Varun Gupta, Associate Director of FinOps, who has been at the forefront of PepsiCo's FinOps journey, most recently contributing to their AI cost optimization efforts. So each of our panelists had a front seat to some of the most compelling moments at FinOps X. Let's begin by hearing what stood out the most to them. What was the most memorable moment for you at FinOps X this year and why? Graham, I'll start with you.
Hi. I think one of the most memorable for me was the ambassador tunnel at the welcome reception when everyone went to go and register. I think Sara had the same, but we didn't know the elevators weren't working. But we were being directed up this pathway, and as we were going, more and more people kind of got together as a tunnel, and the energy and the welcome across that was incredible. And you could hear everyone clapping and whistling and shouting from miles away nearly. I actually went back around to get another round just to feel good again. It was quite good. But also the growth, right? I was there last year and it was my first time and back this year. And it was incredible just to see how much it's grown in terms of maturity of businesses and areas in the space, but just the amount of people now working in the space. It's incredible.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really energetic, I think. Sara, what stood out for you?
I think similar to Graham, it's the being able to see everyone and welcoming the community either during the registration, the networking events, the breakouts, seeing a lot more faces from the land down under and the APAC community and how much the overall community grew year over year. It was actually my third FinOps X. And I got to see a lot more people from the APAC community in person this time. So just to name a few, Graham was one of them. Leon, Mikin, also Hugo, that I often meet in Sydney. So it's like different practitioners coming from New Zealand, from APAC region. It's actually very good to meet people and connect with them in person versus like always connecting in these summits virtually. And generally seeing how the community grew year over year, it's impressive. I remember the first FinOps X that I attended was like 2 years ago. It was the one in 2023, and it was just impressive to see how the breakout sessions have increased. So even the chalk talks, like the rooms or the session length, it increased from being like half an hour to almost 2 hours, 1 hour and 45 minutes. So just testimony of the interest and the growth in the community to speak and interact more in person, which was quite impressive.
Thank you, Sara. It's true. The in-person energy, it hits differently, I think. Varun, what was your moment?
Thank you, Ishita, for having me here. So, there were a couple of, right? But to be specific on one, I'll say the day two keynote where we presented our story about AI, right? So how we are using FinOps for AI. So that was the kind of a proud moment for PepsiCo. So we have presented in multiple different forums, right? But this year, contributing as part of the keynote was a proud moment for PepsiCo. And if you see, when you see your own developed dashboard taking a big screen on the FinOps community, that is a proud moment, even personally for me.
Yep,
So
I bet
that
it was
the moment,
special.
actually. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Love how each of you captured a different flavor of the experience. Was there a particular conversation or connection or moment that helped you feel more part of FinOps community? Sarah, I'd love to hear from you on this.
Yep, it was actually, I would remember or recall two moments in FinOps X this year. One of them is catching up with my mentee, Mikin from New Zealand. So for everyone's benefit, there is a mentorship program in the FinOps Foundation. You can always sign up for it. It's free. Either sign up as a mentee or a mentor. So I signed up as a mentor and I have a mentee in New Zealand. We always have monthly catch-up calls, but it was actually very good to be able to see her in person. I kind of encourage her to attend FinOps X this year. So being able to chat and just talk about the different sessions and how this relates to our conversation also in the mentor sessions. Another one was the Starbucks session. It's available on YouTube if everyone wants to watch it. It's called Every Bean Count. It was just about the forecasting and best practices. So I spent some time during the networking session in the second day of the conference to speak with Ben and just brainstorming idea with him and Eddie from my team, who also came with me in FinOps X. And it was quite interesting because while the theme in the tech world now seems to be about AI, still topics like forecast, like budget, like the typical FinOps topics are still very important for practitioners and they still get a lot of attention. And despite how mature your organization could be, I personally did a talk about forecast and budgeting 2 years ago in FinOps X. Regardless of how mature your FinOps practice is, it's always evolving. There is always more challenges. There's always challenges coming up. So yeah, basically, it was good to be able to speak to someone from the other market, which I think it's a great benefit for FinOps X, because while we have great community in APAC here and in Australia, it's still relatively small market. And we want to be across what's happening in different markets like the States or Europe or like the different markets generally, and even being able to connect with people from India during that conference. So the ability to brainstorm ideas and have discussions and knowledge transfer within, like with different markets and practitioners from different markets is what makes FinOps X really stand out. And the friendliness of the community, everyone is so approachable, everyone is ready to share their ideas and thoughts. So yeah, that was definitely a key moment for me.
Yeah, that really captures the spirit of FinOps X, learning through real conversations. Thanks, Sarah. All right, shifting to the content itself, there were some incredible stories shared this year. Which keynote or breakout session resonated with you the most and what made it impactful? Varun, shall we begin with you?
Interesting. Yeah, let me think through. There are so many, right? But I will say expansion beyond public cloud, right? So if you talk to bigger organization, you will still see, the teams are running in silos. So there is a kind of management team who is managing the cost for data center. There is another team managing the license cost, private cloud cost, SaaS offerings, right? So it is all scattered and working in silo. I will say, we need to, this is the time, right, to consolidate all this together under cloud plus approach, right? And how can we create a double edge for organization as well as for the practitioner, right? So one side you can bring coordination, cohesiveness, and on the other side you can actually create a bigger picture of economy at scale, right? So I say this is the right time to consolidate all this team under one umbrella and create a FinOps as a holistic practice across the organization rather than working in silo.
Yeah, that's a powerful lens, I think. Graham, would you like to share?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of content to choose from. For me, keynote day 2 really resonated. Right, we're very deep into planning AI across our products and estimating cost and trying to forecast what that might look like. So getting to listen to the day 2 keynote around FinOps for AI, the examples that came up from PepsiCo and Workday really resonated and really helped cement where we were going with it, and gave us a lot of guidance on what we needed to look at as well. But on top of that, I thought the chalk talks were pretty key, right? I did mostly chalk talks this year. Mostly because I was hosting one as well. I wanted to go and see how they all went, so I went to quite a few chalk talks instead of breakout sessions. But it was really incredible to see how a group of just random people can come together and talk about a topic and get a result out of it without ever knowing each other before, just because you're all talking the same language almost, right? It's amazing. So those were my key ones for me.
Yep, that's really interesting. Thank you, Graham. Sarah, would you like to share?
Yep. I think one that really stood out for me was the new bank session, also because they had participated in the keynote and they made everyone really, really interested to hear about their forecast story and how they got it from like 75% variance to almost less than 1% variance.
Yeah.
They done really, really good job with their keynote, and actually their session as well was quite informative and nice. And again, back to my original point, that the topics of forecast budgeting, the everyday topics, despite AI, of course, being the main interest now, are still topics of interest to everyone. It's an evolving practice, and things keep changing, and we keep learning and exchanging knowledge from each other. So this also was one of the key sessions, in addition to the Starbucks session that I mentioned, Every Bean Count. I highly recommend people invest time to watch these two on the YouTube channel. They're like quite informative for me, especially if someone is looking to build their cloud and budget forecast.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Love that forecasting continues to spark so much discussion. It clearly hasn't lost its place on FinOps priority list, I think. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Varun, was there a best practice or a new idea from FinOps X that you're planning to take back to your organization?
I feel that PepsiCo has kickstarted its AI optimization journey little early, like at the right time, right? So like all of us have heard about responsible AI, but from a FinOps perspective, I'll say this is the time for economical AI, right? So when team works under constraint, actually they innovate more. So that's the funda we should go for. And when you are having a conversation with business partners and application team, one side you will hear them saying that the practice is changing, the customer behavior is changing, customer demand is changing, product is changing drastically, right? At a very fast pace. On the other side, when they want to train their AI bot or AI engine, they talk about like how can we ingest 10 years old data, 20 years data, right? So I feel data should follow a unlearned life cycle, right? So I'm not saying the old data does not bring value, but what I'm saying is, does it really make sense to ingest like a whole lot of raw data from the back, many years, if that is not bringing the value decisions in the current time frame, right? So the data should have a life cycle in terms of AI. So we should have the life cycle when the data will expire, and we should take out the data from AI so that and let the AI engine digest that and be more relative to the current scenario rather than the just increasing the cost by pushing more and more data from the old time, right? So in PepsiCo, we have taken a charter, not only kind of certifying our FinOps practitioners to work on or getting certified for FinOps practitioner. We are also increasing the horizon. How can we have our AI expert getting certified on FinOps so that together we can create a co-value for the organization? So that's the charter we are following this year.
I love that, actually, and especially the idea of letting AI unlearn what it doesn't need. That's really interesting. Thank you, Varun. To close out, Graham, what advice would you give to someone considering attending FinOps X for the first time next year?
Oh, so many options there.
Yeah.
I think FinOps X is a busy time. It's a big event. So plan what you want to get out of it early on. Really think about what your strategy is or your purpose is in FinOps, and then try and work around that in what you'd like to see at the conference. Everyone is different. There are many ways to go about it. This year, I didn't go to any breakouts because I could watch the breakouts online. I had a different view. I wanted to really dig in and see all the vendors and have a discussion with all of them and really unpack their products rather than going to all of the breakouts. But I think, if you plan it well and know what you want to do, you'll get the right information you want out of it from there. The people at the FinOps Foundation do give you all a lot of information up front. I think there's a schedule that comes out quite early on. It does change a bit, but it's pretty much standard. It goes through what you need to go through there. That and the social aspect. Be open, be friendly. Everyone is willing to talk. Everyone wants to meet. So try and get around to all of the lunches or the drinks after the sessions at night, and just have a good time.
Yeah. Thank you, Graham. I totally agree. It's easy to get overwhelmed without a plan, and thanks for that. And that brings us to the end of our panel. A big thank you to Varun, Sarah, and Graham for sharing such insightful and real-world takeaways from FinOps X 2025. I'm going to hand it back over to Dean.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We're not done with the panel quite yet. We're going to go over a couple more slides. Well, you're done with this part of the panel. We'll come back during a Q&A section of the call. I guess what I'm saying right now is if you have a question for the panel, go ahead and type it in the chat right now, and Suha and Ishita will feverishly attempt to write them down. I know there's a whole bunch of little questions here. Hope we can get some of those answered, but if you got something for Sara, Varun, and Graham, type it in there and we'll try to answer it in just a moment. Hey, you see some logos here. I just want to say thank you. If you work for a company that is listed here, thank you. We have bills and we like to pay them. The Zoom bill, the Slack bill, and all the other bills. And these folks help us do that. And they create an ecosystem of solutions and services that make us thrive. So thank you very much for being members of the FinOps Foundation. If you work for an organization who's interested in joining, you feel free to ping me. And thank you to all these people. Here's the staff of the FinOps Foundation. I was looking at this slide and I guess there's 29. So, hey, if there's an open position, you can fill in that little white spot in the lower right-hand corner. Not sure there is, but here are all the friendly faces that try to help you. And one of them, and I want to recognize here before we finish the call, where's Suha's face? Somewhere on there. Suha basically makes these calls work, and will be helping out hopefully on getting us some of the questions. Thank you very much, Suha, my favorite person on the FinOps Foundation staff, at least currently right now.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.